the Isopanishad, the overview was such that, so we read the first invocation plus the first three verses, which was teaching us about living in harmony. And the section we are in 4 to 8 now is understanding Ishvara by spiritual vision. And in the sixth verse, so we were told that he who sees everything in relation to the Supreme, who sees all living and all entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything nor any being. So this was the sixth verse. The reason Prabhupada brings about the concept of Uttama, Madhyama, and Kanishta-adhikari is because to reach this level where we see the Supreme Lord within everything and all entities as his parts and parcels, we have to be at a level of spiritual. We have to be at a spiritual level, right? It requires a significant amount of sincerity, significant amount of austerities, and obviously mercy of Krishna to come to that level. It's not like a Kanishta Adhikari can be at this point. So the reason that's why Prabhupada explained us the three types of people: the materialistic devotees, Madhyama, and then Uttama. Right? And then the important word that he also the speaker pointed out and Prabhupada also highlighted was Anupashyati. So Pashyati means to observe, right? And but then observe in what way? Observe through a teacher. That was the concept Prabhupada brought out. So we have to acknowledge where we are getting this from. Right? It cannot be that, oh, I'll say, oh yeah, that's fine, I did it, So it's not that way. Acknowledge how it is coming down to us. We have to remember the etiquette. We are approaching Krishna, yes, but under whom are we approaching Krishna? We don't cut the line. It's not like, oh no, now I know Krishna, and oh, Guru, you move out of the way. It's me and Krishna. It doesn't work that way. And as in the episode of Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni, when he got angry on Ambarish Maharaj, the Sudarshan Chakra came to protect Ambarish Maharaj. And then it ran after Durvasa Muni, right? And then Durvasa Muni went all over the world, all over the creation, actually, universe also. He went to, first he went to Indra, then Brahma, and then Shiva, and then he went to Vishnu. He went to Vishnu himself. And that was, when he goes to Vishnu, he says that, oh, this is your Sudarshan Chakra. That, can you please help me out? Can you just ask this Sudarshan Chakra to stay away, spare my life. But then what does Vishnu say to him? He says that no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. He says that I am. What he says that he aswatantra iva dvija. That what he says that I'm not aswatantra. I'm not swatantra. I'm not independent. He's saying he aswatantra iva dvija. And so then sadhu bir hridaya grasto and bhakt jana priya. That's what Vishnu tells him. That it's not just bhakt, but the bhakt jana priya. That I'm a servant not just of my devotee, but my devotee's devotee. So what I'm highlighting and stressing on is that we are always going to Krishna through someone, and we don't give up that etiquette. And that's what Anupashyata means. That's what Prabhupada is highlighting here. That follow the previous Acharya, the perfected teacher. And we are not like Prabhupada would always criticize the slaughterhouses in America. That, first you take milk, so she's your mother, and then when your mother doesn't give you any milk, you kill her. We don't do that. Our teacher is our teacher even when we go up to Golok. Even Golok Vrindavan, our teacher is our teacher. So, yes, so that's what the word Anupashyata. And interestingly, the same word will also come in the 7th verse that we will do. Anupashyata. This is again. So here Prabhupada translated sees through authority. So the same thing. Authority can be of a Shastra, scripture, and Prabhupada talks of this in the scripture, that viewpoint of revealed scripture. So Prabhupada very aptly, he brings out in that earlier verse, he talks of Anupashyata as perfected teacher. And here he's talking about Anupashyata as revealed scriptures. So it's the book Bhagavata and the person Bhagavata, both of them, the viewpoint of both of them, or following both of them. So I just wanted to show that connection. So we are still in the section of the 4th to 8th verse, where in the fourth and fifth, sharing this. 4th to 5th verse was Ishvara is inconceivable to our normal intelligence. So that was 4 and 5, that he can run and not run, and he's far away, near, kind of that inconceivability. 6 and 7 is talking about developing a spiritual vision, right? So understand that Isopanishad, as we have talked in the past, is a transitionary book. When I mean transitionary, it's a transition between Jnana yogis and Bhakti yogis. Therefore, we don't see Krishna, the name of Krishna, being very explicitly mentioned here. It is transition because there are many people who are Jnanis, so there will be scriptures for Jnanis. Okay, fine, you want to practice Jnana Yoga, you can use that. There are bhaktis, there are devotees. Devotees have our own, like Bhagavatam and all. But then there are people in middle also. They're transitioning. So for them, these kind of books, because as we'll read further, Krishna's personal feature will be talked about. Lord's personal feature will be talked about. So that is why this book is very gradually taking us from a point of, first of all, understand that who's Ishvara. Okay, he's the Om Purnamida Purnamadam Purnat Purnamidachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. He is complete, and everything emanating from him is complete. So don't unnecessarily stress yourself in trying that. I need something more to be spiritual. No, we already have it in us. We just have to realize it. And then we are taught that, okay, how can you realize it? Through spiritual vision. Then we will be taught, okay, what is the right and wrong Vidya? What is the right way and wrong way? Right? And then lastly, we'll have a set of prayers. I think it's for 15 to 17. 15 to 17? Yeah, okay. 15 to 17. To request for the Lord to reveal himself. So that's the progression of Isopanishad. And the word Isha means God. So we have talked in the past why Prabhupada translated this book. Okay. So let's read this verse. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva buddvijanatah tatra ko mohaka shokha ekatvam anupashyatah. One who sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? So here Prabhupada has translated the word ekatvam, oneness, and he's told it as oneness in quality, and anupashyata. So this last part of the verse is very important. Ekatvam anupashyata. Ekatvam anupashyata. So ekatvam is oneness, anupashyata, and who sees through. So one who sees the oneness through the scriptures, or through a devotee, through a bhakta, through a bhagavata. That's what is being referred to here. Okay. Okay. So yes, that's what's being referred to here. So now we can elaborate upon something. The word ekatvam. And, do I have something? Okay. So how does Prabhupada break down the purport? So there are 6 paragraphs. The way Prabhupada is going to talk about. He's going to talk about oneness throughout. Okay. Oneness between energy and energetic. Oneness in quality, not quantity. Oneness in interest brings us pleasure. And when we separate that interest, it causes lamentation. So at the end, he requests us to be one in interest with God. That's the way Prabhupada has broken down. If anybody has read the purport, can somebody please tell me why did Prabhupada highlight oneness so much? Why did he bring out this concept of oneness in detail? If you have read the purport, if you can share your thoughts.
I, I have not completely read the purport, Prabhu, but what I'm understanding is oneness in terms of qualitatively and quantitatively, right? Like a drop of ocean,
Mhm.
in terms of quality, it's same as the ocean, but in terms of magnitude, obviously it's not the same. So
Mhm.
oneness, we are talking like uh, Shaktiman and Shakti are the same, right? Energizer energy. But in terms of only quantity, not sorry, quality, not quantity. So that is what they are meaning in terms of oneness here. Even though like Krishna is the one who is the creator of the material energy, right? But
Mhm.
still he is not he's not ever he's not ever affected by the three modes of material nature, though even though he's the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation. So he creates, but still he's never he was never affected by that. So
Yeah.
something on those lines, Prabhu. That's what my understanding
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. That's a good understanding. Yes.
Can I
One point.
try, Prabhu?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting. I think what you asked is why Prabhupada is stressing so much on oneness in this
Hmm.
purport is because he wants to highlight the difference how Mayavadi perceive this this context of oneness, and
Hmm.
how a Mahabhagavata or a devotee perceives the sense of oneness, because there's a lot of misunderstanding among the Mayavadis who consider that we are equal to the supreme Lord, like who is impersonal. But I think what is stressed here by Mahabhagavata is that he sees everyone as same, or in the sense of oneness, um, because he sees everyone as the source or energy of the supreme Lord. And whatever, like Mataji said, Shalini Mataji said. So elaborating on that.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. Yes. So Prabhupada always wanted to clarify for his followers that we are not impersonalists. Yes, that's a very good point you bring up. And so yeah, so that's both those are good. Yes, thank you for that. And Prabhupada never leaves a chance where he sees that impersonalism is can be probably understood or probably can be construed from a verse. So Prabhupada would always make a point that, okay, no, I have to clarify this. Because here the word ekatvam is used, and impersonalists can uh, you know, very easily, use this for their own benefit, saying that, oh no, see, we know what the truth is, and but no, yeah. So that's why Prabhupada wants to always stress on the fact that it's not impersonalism, it's not ekatvam. Ekatvam is not uh, unity in like we don't merge. It's unity that we are same in quality, not in quantity. Yes, that's a very good point. So that's why Prabhupada is highlighting this word ekatvam so much. And also Prabhupada, he always had in mind who are going to read his books, right? And so he knew that if a newcomer comes and read this, and he or she will look at it as, oh yeah, unity, then there is a very good chance that they might fall off the path and not reach the culmination of being a devotee. That's why. And Prabhupada will explain in here that how um, devotees want to always kill their emotions, right? It's that, okay, yeah, no, nothing for me. No, all this is useless, this material world. Devotees also do that, but then devotees have a love associated with it, and that's where we are different from impersonalists, right? So the impersonalists have this idea that we'll one become with God and we'll merge with His existence, right? So, but then Krishna always has told us in the Bhagavad Gita that natva eva ham jatu nasham, right? That you're never destroyed. Neither you nor me. We're always existing. Right? So yes. So let's see what the purport is saying. Prabhupada is saying in the purport. So okay, so let's talk a bit about the concept of oneness as Prabhupada has told us. Yes, where is that? Both these sections, both the verses 6 and 7, they both are emphasizing on seeing with knowledge. Now, as I was mentioning, there has to be a sense of detachment for sure. It's not like we don't detach. But if we just have detachment, then that will bring pride. Oh, see, I'm better than all of these people. See, I've detached myself, but they have not. However, if humility comes first, then, sorry, if not subordination. If we understand that we are only in quality equal, we're not in quantity, we are very small. So we are subordinate to Krishna. So that makes us humble. Okay? So I'm a spirit, but then there is a supreme spirit. So detachment without humility leads to pride. So detachment is good, but only when it comes with humility. That is what that is what the Sankhya Yoga, right? What we read in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam comes. The Sankhya Yoga teaches us. Kapila Muni is teaching us that. Is just talking about the different elements. There are 24 elements in this material nature. He's talking about that. Okay, and but then he also teaches us about bhakti. Right? So that's the beauty of the whole process. That it's not just detachment to looking at the elements. So what is Sankhya Yoga? If you notice, right, the Sankhya Yoga means like, let's for example take your example, right? So somebody brings a cake to you. Okay, so you have a cake in front of you, and you like the cake. Okay, it's very tasty, and you want to eat it. But then somebody takes away the cake, and they say, "Oh no, here are the um, different ingredients of cake, like flour, butter, so and so forth." Right. So now we have shown what makes cake, but then you don't want to eat those individual ingredients, right? So Sankhya Yoga is a philosophy of analysis. We look at everything around us and break it down, okay, and understand what it is actually. That's where the concept 24 elements, right? So when we break something down, we remove its attraction, right? I gave you the example of cake, right? So once you break down the cake into these small pieces, you'll not be attracted to it. Similarly, we see this body and I think, oh, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most beautiful of them all? So then Prabhupada gives us that story of liquid beauty, right? That how there was this girl who was very beautiful, and there was a boy who just, oh, I love you so much, and I want to spend some time with you. And she kept ignoring him, refusing, but then he was not giving up. So he said, okay, come to me after a week. And then she eats laxatives, and and then she vomits and diarrhea, and then she collects everything, all of that. And within a week, she's not eating anything. She becomes very pale, and so. And then the man comes and says, "Oh, where's that beautiful girl?" Oh, she says, "That's me." "Oh, no, no, she's not you. Where is she?" "Oh," he said, "I collected my beauty in pots." Right? So, so she shows him the pots of her vomit and diarrhea. So that's the story of liquid beauty Prabhupada mentioned. So what she did was she broke down herself into parts. Like, what is this body made of? We have blood, we have water and bones and all that stuff. So there's nothing attractive here, right? So, but then that if I just leave you at this point, that there is Sankhya is this, that becomes atheistic, right? It leads to nihilism, right? Okay, oh no, no, nothing for me in this world. But theistic Sankhya says that we become detached from this world, but then during that natural progression of that detachment, I ask, oh, where does it all come from then? Who is that? Who's behind this? And then there is a positive attraction. So if we are on a number line, Sankhya Yoga, the detachment will take us from negative to zero, but Bhakti will take us from zero to positive. We can't be attracted to Krishna till we are attached to things in this world. Sankhya helps us to let go. That's what Prabhupada is doing here. He's breaking down the whole concept of ikatvam and the concept of anupashyata for us into parts so that we can understand it fully and then understand that we are not Krishna. We're not Krishna. Okay? So detachment, the concept of detachment is very important to come to this level of understanding this ekatvam anupashyata concept. And that's what the problem is in Buddhism. Buddhists, they also believe in Sankhya Yoga, but they believe that at the end, this desires are the source of misery. But then they don't know there is spiritual desire also, right? So it's not just that ekatvam is the only part. No, ekatvam anupashyata. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, you see that. Oh yes, I'm a part of the Supreme Lord, or they think of merging, but there's no merging obviously. But they understand. If you can understand that, we have to follow the revealed scriptures, the real self-realized souls, and they will take us to that concept of bhakti, and then they will tell us what the true spiritual desires are. Right? If you see a nightmare, and when you wake up from that nightmare, you feel relieved. But it's not like you just lay on the bed. You get up and you do something. Similarly, yeah, once you know that this material world is nothing, it's just if you break it down, it's just elements. Then you get up and do something about it. So, so that's this. So that's the thought process of detachment. I just want to bring that. So how do we come to the level of ekatvam anupashyata? We see that detachment, but out of humility, that we see that we're also part and parcel of Krishna, right? That's something we understand. Just 1 minute. Okay. So this section, as I mentioned, is talking about understanding Ishvara by spiritual vision. Okay. So this one is a continuation of thought from the last verse. Right? So this verse has where's that word? Vijanataha. So Vijanataha, what did Prabhupada translate it as? Here's it. Oh, one who knows. So Janata means knowing, right? So Vijanata means how does the person know all living beings? Is that by seeing them from a spiritual platform, at a spiritual platform. So for such a person, what is moha? What is shoka? What is illusion? What is lamentation? There is no more illusion or lamentation. Because this person sees oneness and anupashyati, right? So in both these mantras, the emphasis of seeing is on seeing with knowledge. Right? So, and the whole purport is Prabhupada is focusing on ekatvam, right? As I said, because this verse is like a treat for the impersonalist, right? And what Prabhupada does is he brings about the concept of ekatvam from all across the Vedas. So what does oneness actually mean? And he starts by he gives the example of fire, right? So he gives that sparks and fire. So he gives example of energy and energetic, as we were just talking, right? So so how do we realize oneness, right? In quality, right? So when I understand that I'm not matter, I'm spirit, I'm conscious, then I can understand that this matter cannot give me happiness, right? That's why when we, if I think I'm spirit, just alone, as I was saying, if I have just a detachment, that will bring pride. But when I see myself as an amsha of the Supreme Spirit, that brings humility. So this concept of oneness is very much emphasized in impersonalists. But we see ourselves as servant of Krishna. Jivera Swarupoe Nitya Krishna Das. So we have a relationship with Lord. We are small at spiritual level. Okay? Can you tell me a verse from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna tells us that we are a part of Him? Anyone?
Mamayvamso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha.
Okay, complete the verse, Mataji. What is this jiva doing? The next part of the verse tells us. Okay, so it says, Mamayvamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana mana shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. That me, mana shashtani indriyani. So yes, I'm a part and parcel of Krishna. The reason Krishna speaks that verse is to tell us who we are, but what an undignified way I'm living this life in. Mamayvamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. That I'm sanatana, I'm eternal. And I'm part of Krishna. Mamayvamsho, amsha. But then what am I doing instead of understanding myself as part of Krishna? Manha shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Shashtani indriyani, 6 indriyas, including the mind. I'm trying to control this world. So that's what I'm doing. So yes, so we are part and parcels of Krishna. And even if you see Mahaprabhu in Shikshashtakam, what is the most famous verse of Shikshashtakam? Well, the whole Shikshashtakam is famous. Where
Sunichena swapaket.
Napi Sunichena Tarurapi Sahishana Manina Madina Ketanya.
Yes, thank you. So that's the third verse of Shikshashtakam. Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Shahishtana Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. So even when Mahaprabhu is teaching us, what is he's bringing humility first. Trinadapi Sunichena. Right? Tarorovi Sahishtana. Like the tree, you become tolerant like the tree. But then in the next verse, he teaches us detachment. What does he say in the next verse? Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. Kavitam vaisha jagat kamahe. Mama janmani janmishware. Bhavtat bhakti rahituki tvai. So that's the beauty. See, even Mahaprabhu is teaching us the same thing. Yes, we all need detachment. But it should come after humility. But if we jump to the concept of oneness, as the impersonalists do, detachment comes first. There is no humility in that process. And then it's just a dark well. There is no end to it. We're just spiraling in this world. We go spiraling. There's no end to it. I'll think, oh yeah, I'll merge with this and that, you know. And in bhakti, there is no merging concept. There is a concept of meeting, but no merging. Prabhupada gave the example of when a green parrot enters a green tree, right? People might not be able to see that tree or the parrot and say, oh, it merged. No, it didn't merge. It's still there. It's a meeting. So the love of a devotee is like a meeting of an ocean with a river. Right? And Kapila Muni talks about this in the third canto. Madguna Shruti Matrina Mai Sarva Guhashaye Manogati Ravichena Yatha Gangam Basho Ambudhav. Like just as the Ganges flows towards the ocean, may my heart flow towards you. Right? So that's the difference between oneness of an impersonalist versus oneness of a devotee. How oneness of a devotee is. How does that work? So that's the biggest error of impersonalism. That they're very vulnerable to pride. And at the end, the worst thing the impersonalists do is that they think I am God. And that's a demonic mentality. Where does Krishna tell us about the demonic mentality? in Bhagavad Gita? Which chapter?
16.
Is this a question or an answer?
Course answer. Demoniac versus
Okay,
16.
that's good. Yes, thank you. 16 is the chapter. Demoniac mentality. Can you remember any of the qualities, any verse from the 16th chapter telling us about the qualities of demons?
You have to tell the verse.
No, it's okay. I'm just joking. I mean, if you can tell, that's good. That's good. You all are Bhakti Shastris. You all should have verses for Bhagavad Gita. There's a verse in the 16th chapter. There's a verse, I think, see, 14th verse, where the demoniac person, what does it say? Ishwaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi. That's the mentality of a demoniac person. And the same mentality is of an impersonal. So, Ishwaroham, I have become God. So that is why Prabhupada has been stresses so much on this concept of oneness. Right? And he starts with this thought of the fire. He says that a spark, the spark can be qualitatively it's same. It has two aspects to it. It has heat and it has light. So that's also in the spark, as in the whole fire. But then the quantity is very, very less. Right? That's how Prabhupada is explaining it to us. See if I can increase the font here. Okay. So yes, that's what Prabhupada is telling us. So and is then Prabhupada, the Mahabhagavata, the great devotee, sees oneness in the sense that he sees everything as the energy of the Supreme Lord. Since there is no difference between the energy and energetic, there is a sense of oneness. Although heat and light from the analytical point of view are different from fire, there is no meaning to the word fire without heat and light. But in the synthesis, heat, light, and fire are all the same. Now, this is a very good way of Prabhupada is explaining, and let's look at it from another example. Let's look at it. I'll try to explain this in another way. Jiva Goswami, he gives the example of sun. Okay. So the sun, let's presume the sun god is Krishna. Okay. The radiance that is immediately very close to the sun is his internal energy, right? It just very close to the sun. There is this radiance coming out. But then there are sun rays that are even coming up to the earth. Okay. And then there's a reflection of the sun in the river or in a pot or something like that. So if you look at it, that the sun god is Krishna, the radiance very close to the sun is the internal energy of Krishna. The rays are marginal energy. Okay. And the reflection in the pond, a river or a pot is this external energy. So now what you see here, that even though these all are a part of sun, but they are different in the gradation. The energies gradations are different, right? Like for example, we being the marginal energy, we can go either way. We can become spiritual, we can become material. Like we cannot become material, but we can entangle ourselves in the material also, right? Similarly, we can become spiritual also in nature, right? So all three are coming from the sun, the radiance, the sun rays, and its reflection. But they do not manifest the sun's power in the same way, right? So sun ray has heat and illuminating capacity. But when that sun ray goes away and away, the effect becomes lesser. So similarly, the marginal has a tendency to go away, and thus it can lose its spiritual nature. So what I want to highlight is that, yes, oneness is there, but that oneness also has gradations, right? That's the concept of Achinta Bhed, Abhed Tattva, given by Mahaprabhu to us, right? When Shankaracharya came, Shankaracharya said, no, there is no form of God. Ramanujacharya came, he said, no, there is a form of God. Then Mahaprabhu came, he said, God can have a form and cannot have a form also. That's the perfection of our Shastras. That's the perfection of this Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya that we are following. That we are not rejecting that God cannot have. God can, God is perfect. He can have a form also. He cannot have a form. That's his choice, right? So that's Bhed Abhed, that he is form and without form also. So there's this, how to say it, unity in diversity, right? So before I move forward, I'll take a step. Did my example of sun make sense? Was it clear that yes, all those three things are emanating from the sun, but then they are but they are different in the grades, right? Though uh, so the concept of fire and that spark, it gives us that there is a difference, but they also have qualitative. But then even when they're uh, qualitatively they're same, but that quantitatively they're different, and that quantitatively difference can also be at multiple levels. I just want to take it at the next level. That's what I was explaining. Did that make sense to everybody? Please let me know if it did not.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, it made sense. Okay, good. Yeah, because Isopanishad, as I've mentioned before, it's a slightly technical a book, as because it was more of a written with more of intellectuals in mind, or people who are jnana yogis in mind. So there can be some things that might be complicated, and then similarly, Prabhupada's purports also can be a bit not necessarily confusing, but we might not be able to extract the message out of it if we don't go in depth and read it again and again. Okay, so yes, so there is unity in diversity. Unity in diversity means those parts are coming from the sun, so they're diverse, but then they're united because they're coming from the sun. But then it can also be the other way around. But there can be diversity in unity also. So diversity in unity means they are united, they are the same, but then they're also at different grades, right? For example, gopis were united in love for Krishna. They all loved Krishna. So that was what was uniting them. But then they were all individuals. They all had different inclination towards Krishna. Actually, it comes in the 10th canto. The 10th canto, the Gopi Geet comes, right? You all have heard of the Gopi Geet. It comes in the 10th canto, 31st chapter. And it starts by saying Gopya Uchu, right? Generally, if you see it across Shastras, there comes, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Arjuna Uvacha. So Gopya Uchu means many people are saying. So then they sing that song, Jayati te dhikam janmana vraja, Shayata Indriya Shashvad Atrahi. So they sing that verse. So that's the common thought they all have. But then Jiva Goswami explains further in one of his books that each of those 18 verses, there are totally 19 verses. This is the first one, Jayati te dhikam. Each of the other verses, that they give the mood of a different gopi. So that's the diversity in unity. That they all have the same thought around for Krishna, but then they also have this diversity. We all are united in the sense that we all are souls. That is the ekatvam for us, oneness. But then we are not a Xerox copy of each other. There is distinction. We all have a separate relationship with Krishna. So that is why we should not try to imitate others, because we ourselves are very special. We and that should be a source of love and respect for ourselves. We cannot give love to others if we don't love ourselves. That's very important. We cannot give respect to others if I don't respect my own self. Many people have lack of self-esteem. Lack of self-esteem is coming from not knowing who we are. I'm always trying to be like somebody else, right? We should be aware that we are this great value, because we are parts of Krishna. This morning I was reading an article on LinkedIn how leaders nowadays, there is a very common buzzword in leaders, which is authenticity. That the leaders are creating their own leadership style, right? So where does that come from? That's coming from Bhagavad Gita. Every possible leadership skill out there, any concept that people sell to become rich, all that comes from Bhagavad Gita. So yes, so that's where it's coming from. The leadership concept, and how leaders are being more and more authentic. They're not necessarily following other leaders and trying to be like other leaders. They want to be what's good in them that they want to give to others. So that's it. So that's the individuality speaking out that's in all of us. So we all are united because we are a soul, but we all are diverse also. There's a diversity also. So understanding that ekatvam is not this dry oneness. There's not just like tasteless oneness. It's a rich, dense reciprocation of love is also there in ekatvam, right? Even in Isopanishad, which seems very intellectual and kind of just theoretical, there is a concept of that personal form. We'll see this in the 14th verse. I think it's the 14th or 15th verse. Hiranmayana patrena satya sthapitam mukham. Tatyapushana pavano satya dharmaya drishyate. That, oh, remove this effulgence and I want to see your face. Hiranmayana patrena satya sthapitam mukham. Mukham. I might have told this story in the past, but I love it so much. I'll tell you once again. Achyutananda Prabhu was one of Prabhupada's earlier disciples, one of the first, very few disciples. And he tells in his book's name was, what was it? The name of his book was Never Trust a Sannyasi who does not dance. I think that's what his name was. Yeah, Never Trust a Sannyasi who doesn't dance. I think that was the name. I might be messing it up, but that was the kind of a name. So he tells that Achyutananda Prabhu says he was with Prabhupada in India. Okay, when Prabhupada went to India for the first time, and he was very close to Prabhupada. He would live in the Radha Damodar temple with Prabhupada, and he would apply chandan to Prabhupada's forehead sometimes. But he would tell that Prabhupada would never talk to him, not pay a lot of attention to him. But one day he went to the south. He was on a south tour. He went to Coimbatore, and Coimbatore, what happened was he had a debate with a local pandit, and so they were these 3 or 4 Western just kids, sannyasis, kid sannyasis, in a garb of sannyas, whatever you may call them. And there they defeated them. How did they defeat them? By bringing this verse out from Isopanishad. Hiranmayana patrena satya sthapitam mukham. That how can you say God is formless? Upanishads are talking about a form of God. Mukham, they're talking about a face. So when that devotee came back, Prabhupada was very appreciative of him because that news was published in the newspaper and all that, and it became a famous thing, and Prabhupada came to know. So he started reciprocating with the devotee. So there's always a rich, dense reciprocation of love, even in the Ekatvam. But I just wanted to say that story. I like that story very much. And it goes back to Anupashyata. We might be very, intellectual. I can memorize every verse in Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. I can, recite them at the tip of my tongue. But it's of no use if I'm not following a self-realized soul. If I'm not following what Bhagavad Gita is teaching me, then it's all in vain. Then I'm just a shell. There's nothing inside me. Everything in my head, nothing in my heart. There's a blockade. For it to move from the head to the heart, humility has to be there. Okay. So that's what ekatvam is. Prabhupada keeps on talking about this ekatvam throughout the purport. He brings out the concept of ekatvam anupashyata. Then he brings out the concept of, I think he also brought up the concept, where was that? Where was it? Oh yeah, he talks about this concept of ocean and the salt. That the quantity of salt present in a drop is never comparable to the quantity of the salt present in the complete ocean. But the salt present in the drop is qualitatively equal in chemical composition to all the salt present in the ocean. So that's another analogy Prabhupada is giving us. Right? So this analogy of the ocean is given a lot across the Bhagavatam also. One I quoted just now, I mentioned about it from Kapila Muni, Madguna Shruti Matrena Mai Sarva Guhashay. And we see a similar thought process by, who's that? Not Devuti, Kunti, Mother Kunti, right? Where she sings this in the first canto, 8th chapter, she's singing, right? That Tvai me ananya vishaya, matir madhupate sakrid, ratim udvahata adha, gange vogam udhanvati. That may my attraction be constantly drawn towards you without being diverted to anyone else. So yes, we all also are going towards the ocean, but we are not merging. We are meeting the ocean. That's the that's one aspect which is missing in the impersonalists. So devotee's heart is always going towards Krishna, and it finds a way. nothing can nothing can hold that devotee's heart back, right? In the early days, devotees in the movement had to go through a lot of hardships. In Russia, devotees were put in jail. Their beads were taken up. They were beaten, but still they made beads out of bread. Like if you could, you all must have done it at some point, right? That if you crush the bread, it becomes hard, right? It's no more that porous structure. It becomes very hard. So the devotees would make beads out of them and make their mala, and you chanting for that. Once, what happened was devotees were doing kirtan, and the local sheriff. So the mayor of the city and the sheriff, they both were, not very friendly. They both were not very friendly. So once the mayor was out of the city and the devotees were chanting, and so the sheriff, caught them and put them in jail, even though the devotees had taken permission from the mayor to do the chanting and book distribution on the street. But in the jail, it was a Sunday, and the devotees were looking forward to the Sunday feast and the class. But in the jail, they didn't have any of that. So they started doing Manas Sunday feast. They started doing it in their mind. Oh, you will cook puri, you will cook halwa and that. And then they all sat down and they were, they started serving. And they were very happy. They were very joyful. So then they were released from jail. The mayor called and had them freed. But what I'm saying is, even devotee's heart goes towards the ocean, like a river going to ocean. But that it's not merging, it's meeting, and nobody can stop that. Okay, what else? Anybody knows the meaning of the word tabernacle? This is a very good word. Prabhupada uses it at least 2 times I have known in his books. The living beings who are engaged in the material tabernacle are constantly seeking enjoyment, but they are seeking it on the wrong platform. Tabernacle, it comes from a Jewish origin. I think when Jewish people were migrating, they would create a temple for themselves and they would walk with it. So tabernacle is more like a mobile temple. So we all are mobile temples because we have Krishna sitting in our hearts, right? So we are engaged in the material tabernacle and constantly seeking enjoyment. So we are, so that's how unlucky we are, that we have Krishna right with us, but then we are saying, no, I want to enjoy this world. Right? So Ekatvam Anupashyata means see everything spiritually. Material vision is what creates offense. Right? Material verse creates offense. So, right, so if you have a material object and you have a material vision, what will it do? It will cause bondage for sure, right? But if you have a material object and your vision is spiritual, that can lead to purification. Prabhupada, when he told Shyam-Sundar Prabhu that he wanted to do a Rath Yatra, nobody in the West had heard of Rath Yatra. So Prabhupada, when he was standing in the balcony of his, or probably from the window of his room, he saw that there was a flatbed trucks, right? We have flatbed truck nowadays also. And he said, oh, we could use that for Rath Yatra. That you could just have the DTs on the back of the truck and then you could just walk them through. So yeah, so material object, vision is spiritual, right? But if there is something spiritual in nature and the material, vision becomes material, that becomes offensive, right? Yeah, obviously, when there's an object is spiritual, vision is spiritual, then it causes ecstasy, it makes us ecstatic. So yeah, so always have a vision means see everything spiritually, but it should not be artificial. Right? It should not be artificial. When Prabhupada's godbrothers came to the West, they came, they met some people, gave a few classes here and there, clicked some pictures, went back home, and they had some success for sure. But when they went back, they their spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that, oh, it's hard to convert those people. They're too much in Maya. But when Prabhupada came here, he saw everyone as ekatva. He saw that everybody was a soul. And he also saw that these souls were suffering. Right? So ekatvam is not whitewashing everything as spiritual, but seeing spiritual beyond the material. Right? And we all can come to that level of that spiritual vision by anupashyataha. Another way of looking at anupashyata is sharanagati, taking shelter. Right? So one who takes shelter according to one's capacity at that particular time is considered to be on the path of full surrender. Right? You do your best at a given moment according to your circumstances and take to the path of shelter. The material prosperity and the capacity to act responsibly in a way that we don't become entangled, it naturally follows a strong spiritual practice. Right? So what I mean to say is, we all are in this material world. We are doing things, but we are acting in a way that we are not getting more and more entangled in this world. Then we naturally, our spiritual practice becomes stronger. And the beauty is that the more spiritual we become, the less we feel we are unqualified, because we realize that, oh, everything is coming from Krishna, nothing mine. I'm nothing. So automatically, with that vision, humility comes. Right? So yes, Sharanagati. That's a very simple way, very simple and profound way at the same time of coming to the level of spiritual vision. So knowing that we are not this body and how we are dependent on Krishna for making advancement in our devotional service. We have to apply ourselves as sincerely as possible. And when we are authentic, as I was talking about this concept of authenticity, this authenticity attracts the mercy of Krishna. Where does humility come from? It comes from honesty. And I say authenticity. Accepting our humanness by showing compassion to ourselves. Before we understand the absolute or the real self, we have to become aware of our inauthentic self and make that authentic. That will help us elevate in spirituality, being authentic. Right? We have to realize how fragile I am, right? How dependent I am. Right. Okay, I'll take a pause here. Anything on anyone's mind, any comments or questions? Or anything you didn't like or you liked?
What is authenticity?
Very good question. Authenticity means truthfulness, accepting who you are, not trying to pretend to be somebody else. That's what authenticity means. And where does that come from? That comes from the understanding that I'm unique in myself. I'm already somebody. I don't have to be somebody to be successful. Everybody is just trying to be, oh, I have to be successful, but I'm already successful because I'm Krishna's. I'm his part and parcel. So then I can just give up the mask that I'm wearing, because I'm realizing that I'm already amazing. Why am I trying to struggle and present myself in a way to try to become amazing? I'm already amazing. That's where authenticity comes from.
See, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, anything else? No?
Yeah, Prabhu, I
Yes.
liked in this paragraph about description of the Nirguna platform. So gives explanation that about the center of our enjoyment should be the Supreme Lord, and explains that when our enjoyment is misdirected, how it's so much inferior to actually enjoying with the Supreme Lord. So there's it's I think that this it's very nicely described here that the real center of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord. It's sublime, and it's further explained in the paragraph. So I really like that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Nirguna. Nirguna doesn't mean no qualities. It means no material qualities. Yeah.
Prabhuji, I really like how do you explain the qualitative difference at multiple level, and you gave the example of sun god and radiance, which is coming very close to sun, and compared it with the different energy gradation. That was really very enlightening and very knowledgeable, Prabhuji. This was something, I really
Thank
like.
you. Yeah. Yeah. It's understanding that even though it looks as one, but then there is difference also, and then difference can also be at multiple grades. And what Prabhupada is doing in this report is, and not in this one, even the earlier one, he talked about Uttama, Madhyam, and Kanishta. He's trying to break down the whole system into parts so that I can understand where do I stand, and then from there I can move forward, right? Because if I don't understand where I am in my process, moving forward will be difficult for me. So Prabhupada is doing that. He's very mercifully explaining to us that Premadam, okay, this is Uttam Adhikari, Madhyama, Kanishta. See where you are. Okay, good. Now follow a Bhagavata, either a book Bhagavata, and in the earlier one he was talking about, and here he was talking about scripture, and earlier one he was talking about the self-realized soul. So Prabhupada has broken it down so nicely for us so that we can pick this up and use it in wherever circumstance we are in, wherever position we are in. So Prabhupada's purports are perfect. Beyond perfect. I don't know if there is a word for that, but beyond perfect. Thank you. Okay, if nothing else, we'll wrap up. We'll do the 8th verse and then the 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Those 6 verses, very interesting. 9, 10, and 11, that's a set of 3 verses, and 12, 13, and 14, that's a set of 3 verses, and they only differ by 1 word. So we'll see that when we'll come to it, but they're interesting. So we'll understand those differences. Okay.